Hello, brothers and sisters. Happy feast day of Pentecost. This is a great day for the whole church, and it's a great day for you and me. I'd like to give some comments and reflections on the gospel reading for today, which is from John chapter 20, verses 19 to 23. So here is the passage. It's very short, and what I want to do is to give some comments on different parts of this passage. Let's begin. On the evening of the first day of the week, when the doors were locked, where the disciples were for fear of the Jews. So we're being given here the setting of the passage. The day is the same day of the resurrection. It's the first day of the week. But the setting is very grim, very scary. The doors are locked by the people inside the room, and they were hiding for fear of the enemies of Jesus. So it's a pathetic scene. Here are men who, because they saw their master crucified, and they were still unsure of what's going on. They hear reports about Jesus being seen by others, but they were still hiding, and they were in the dark. No? They were hiding for fear of their enemies. And in the midst of their fear, Jesus came and stood in their midst and said to them, "Peace be with you." Notice that nothing can prevent the risen Christ from entering into a situation, whether it be two disciples walking on the lonely countryside on their way to Emmaus. Jesus, just approached them and walked with them, or behind locked doors. Nothing could stop the risen Christ from appearing. And so Jesus appears to them in their great need and in their fear, and what he says is shalom. No? What we say peace, it might even be a very mild term compared to the very rich meaning of the Hebrew shalom, which means complete well-being. Everything's okay, especially between us and God. No? So shalom has to do not only with the absence of conflict, but everything's good, everything's okay, a profound sense of well-being. And this is what the risen Jesus bestows on his disciples. The first thing that he gives to them is what they need. In their fear, they needed to be reassured of the presence of Christ. And Jesus says to them, shalom, everything is okay. When he had said this, he showed them his hands and his side. He showed them the marks of his love, the evidence that he is not a ghost, but he is a fully glorified human being with a body that can show the marks of his love. And it's a demonstration that he is who he says he is. And the disciples rejoiced when they saw the Lord. Here is something convincing for them, that here indeed is their master whom they thought to be dead, but now is risen in glory. And so they rejoice. No? Rejoicing is a very common reaction to the presence of God in our lives. Jesus said to them again, peace be with you. So Jesus continues to bestow on his disciples what they need most: peace, reassurance, well-being, reconciliation with God. He gives them what they need. But then he adds something. He said, as the Father has sent me, so I send you. This is a very important consequence of Jesus appearing in our lives. This is a very important consequence of the resurrection. Okay, not only that Jesus proves himself to be triumphant over death, he is vindicated by the Father, he is risen in glory, but there is a sending by Jesus so that we might continue to do what he was sent by the Father to do. And so he said, just as I was sent by my Father to accomplish my mission, which I did accomplish, but now I'm sending you out to continue that mission in order for more and more people to know the reason for which I came, the good news that all is well, that all is shalom. If they believe in me, if they accept me, if they receive my Holy Spirit, everything will be well. All will be shalom. And when he had said this, he breathed on them and said to them, receive the Holy Spirit. What we have here is already the apostles gathered in the upper room. They already, on this very first day of Easter, they receive a personal gift of the Spirit. You might be wondering, didn't Pentecost take place 40 days after the Passover, after Easter? Didn't Pentecost come in the upper room with tongues of fire and a mighty wind blowing and speaking in tongues and so on? Yes. Okay. So yes, today, Pentecost, we mark that institutional giving of the Spirit, what theologians call the giving of the Spirit to the whole church. But here in John chapter 20, on the first day of the resurrection, we have what, in contrast, we would call a personal giving of the Spirit, a personal Pentecost. Jesus comes and he gives the Holy Spirit in a very personal way to his apostles. And it is accompanied by a sending out to continue the mission of Jesus. And it is also accompanied by certain powers being given to the church, especially to its ordained ministers. That is why Jesus says to the disciples, whose sins you forgive are forgiven, and whose sins you retain are retained. And so the risen Christ shares his power of forgiving or retaining sins to his church, to the disciples, and in the Catholic tradition, to what we would call our ordained ministers. No? So this is a very important passage which combines many ideas of the resurrection, the triumph of Jesus, his glorification, the giving of the Holy Spirit, and the sending forth of the disciples. What about for us, brothers and sisters? Don't we sometimes, or maybe quite often, cower in fear, thinking that the problems we face are so manifold and so overwhelming? We might lock ourselves behind closed doors and fear to venture out, to be the rejoicing disciples, sharing the good news. Don't we sometimes cower in fear? And Jesus appears to us now and says, do not be afraid. Do not be afraid. Shalom. Receive my Spirit. And Jesus shows us that the door should not be locked. We should venture forward. The church should go out of the doors and to bring the good news to the world. Today, in many ways, is like a mission Sunday. Okay? Because we are being sent out by the Lord, not by our own strength, but by his Holy Spirit. And so the giving of the Spirit is for many reasons, yes. And among those reasons is for us to be able to go boldly out of the locked doors of the church, the doors of our lives, to burst forth with joy into the world and to announce the good news. Let us hasten forth. Let us go out with expectation, with eagerness, with anticipation, with excitement. Let's bring the good news of salvation to the world. We are ignited today. Today, Pentecost Sunday, the church is reminded that we are already set on fire. Let us go forth and set the world on fire because Jesus is alive. The Holy Spirit is with us. We want to share Jesus and the Holy Spirit with other people. God bless you and have a good day.